Hello, this is going to be the bonus video about The Undoing this week. That is about strictly the theories. This is our, like I said, this is our last chance for romance. It's our last chance to guess who the real killer is. And so we all have a lot of theories, okay? We don't have that many options, but there are a couple of interesting theories that I want to talk about and that have been talked about in articles and things. So one of the first theories that I read about last week was Lily Rabe's character, Sylvia. Now, she is the lawyer friend. A lot of people think it's Sylvia because we know for a fact, because Jonathan admitted it, that he had an affair one-off with somebody else, but we don't know who it is. That's one thing. So they think it's Lily Rabe. They think it's Sylvia. They also think that she gives meaningful glances to him in the courtroom. And the fact that she hid that she had given him legal advice for months from Grace, to me, was suspicious. And she's very, very into like pushing the theory, like, Grace, you have to divorce him. Grace, you have to get away from him. Grace, he did it. She's very pushing that he did it. Wouldn't your friend be kind of like trying to open, like, you know, like Franklin, it's appropriate for him to be like, he did it, Grace, move on. But your friend should just be like in the role of comforting you. Your friend really shouldn't be in the role of telling you like, dump him, sis, not in a situation like this. But she seems to take that role on for herself. And this is what she said. One of the comments, and so I'm reading comments and we're talking about theories all together. Okay. One person said, Nay Patterson, hi Nay. She said her lawyer friend did it with like 4 exclamation points. She said the glances that her and Jonathan exchanged in the courtroom spoke without words. And how do you not tell your friend that you are representing her husband? With Jonathan's record so far, they probably had an affair. And then she said, take away Henry's iPad. That young man be cussing up in the house. That's what I said. I've been saying that for ages. Take away his devices. Then another person said, are they going to twist it or not? She said, I don't know all the inner workings. This person says, Talia Sims. Hi, Talia. She says, I don't know the inner workings, but I don't trust Lily Rabe or Grace's father. I think Grace maybe killed Elena and the father set up the husband. Okay, we'll get to the rest of her comment in the Grace theory, but there are a couple of people that have commented that they think that it is Grace. So y'all are, it says, and a person named Kiko. Hello, Kiko. She said, you're right. Tears without tears. I don't think that he did it because it's too predictable, don't you think? And he's kind of maintaining that he didn't do it. But I'm just like, I don't know. He seems like such a sociopath at this point. He does. He seems so manipulative. Like his whole act of like, I really didn't do it. I have no reason to lie to you. You're my defense lawyer. Or, you know, like I just feel like he's putting up an act. But it says, I was thinking Grace's dad or her lawyer friend. It has to be a person removed from the situation, but still connected. That's interesting. That's interesting. I like that theory. But I don't know. I just don't believe. One of the reasons I don't believe it is because her friend has been such a side character. Sylvia has been such more of a side character. I'm going to save Henry to the very end. Now let's talk about Grace. Do we think it is Grace? Now, some people have said, this person said she did it, LOL. She just literally said that and just moved on. She's like, she did it, LOL. And I'm like, no, not Grace. Let me see. She did it, LOL. And it's Melly. Hello, Melly. And then this person said, Malaka. Oh my gosh, her name is like so long, or their name. Malaka Shal Ammath said, Grace did it because Elena was cheating on her. Now, we touched on this. We touched on how it was a little bit heteronormative of me to immediately assume that it was Jonathan and Elena and that Grace didn't have the affair herself. But I don't really see Grace having an affair. I don't know, maybe she did. Like, she's not a very like present woman sometimes. I don't want to say she's a bad mom, but she's low-key kind of like out of touch with what's going on her son a little bit, just saying. And she's very weepy. But it's just like, you know, is that her being unhinged? So one person, oh my gosh, I forgot to screenshot it. But one person on my last video said that she thinks that Grace did it because, what did she say? I don't even remember. See, this is why you have to screenshot things. But she thinks that Grace did it. And I'm just like, why? And like, they're like, she thinks that, oh, no, her theory, one of her theories was that she thought that Grace's scenes where she's like in the locker room with Elena and certain flashbacks are all in her head and they're not real. And she's just getting that vibe. And I'm like, do you think she's unhinged? And she's like, I think something traumatic happened in the past and it's going to come to light. And I'm like, okay. That's an interesting theory. That was my Zavitsa. I think that's how you say her name. She comments a lot. So I remember it was her who said that. Yeah, it's Zavitsa. Anyway, next theory. From Lily Rabe / Sylvia to Grace to Franklin. Now, people have said that. They think Franklin may have done it. I don't know if you can hear the washer. It's like randomly sloshing. It's not like in a cycle. It's scaring me. It's like freaking me out. And then it's like she found herself. Listen, it says, I believe given her beauty and sensuality, she found herself trapped in some sort of scheme by someone else, her husband or Grace's father, and then fell as victim. And this is, I believe, Zavitsa again. But I can't because it's like my screenshot is even wonky. Even when I do screenshot, I don't do a good job. Anyway, and then this is my theory. Okay, this is my theory about Franklin. I said in the comments that I think that after Jonathan came and asked him for money, he started putting a like tail on him. He started putting like a private investigator, not a secret investigator, a private investigator. I think that because you don't just give away $500 million, no questions asked. You just don't. You just don't. So I think that he was like, oh, we're not telling Grace and you need $500,000? Oh yeah, sure thing. And then he like gave him the money and immediately started finding out all the dirt on Jonathan. And either he knows for a fact that Jonathan did it because he has some sort of personal like evidence from a secret investigator, or he's literally framing Jonathan for doing it. I don't know if he paid someone. He's kind of older, but he could have still pulled it off. I think that if it was Franklin, Grace's father, that's to me. And the fact that Franklin held in that secret of cheating on the mom for so many years, I don't know. Yeah, and that's it. And they set up the husband. Now, let's get on to Jonathan. A lot of people think Jonathan did it because it's pretty obvious. And then she said, and then funny review, I think that Jonathan did it, and says, I do think Jonathan didn't kill Elena because he has acted in a very poor and immature manner. He's either a genius or a big idiot. I'm thinking idiot, but that's just my opinion. And the fact that he tried to paint her as just a crazy gold digger, I agree with that. Who else thinks it's Jonathan? I'm going through the little comments I've compiled. It says, Jonathan is the killer. He's so manipulative and the fake tears on the TV show convinced me. Watch him try to throw Grace under the bus. And this is what this Patricia Blinkus, she said this, and she's right, because he immediately started being like, well, why were you there? In this episode, I'm like, you have a lot of fucking nerve. Girl, he has so much nerve. And I said, he better not try that. He is seeming so two-faced. He's two-faced. He's two-faced. Even in this episode, he's two-faced. Because he's talking about, oh, I loved Elena so much. I could have never hurt her. I could have never killed her. And then turning around like, oh, there's so many. And then manipulating Grace and still sleeping with Grace. And she's fallen for it. My God. My God. And then this person said tears without tears. I don't think he did it because it's too predictable. This is what people are saying. I think Grace's dad or the lawyer friend did it. It says, Patricia Blinken says, I'm convinced Jonathan did it. As you know, he killed her and was careful to cover up, but we see Grace walking in the same clothes she wore to the party. It wasn't her. I don't know. She doesn't think it's Grace. I don't know. Now, this is far-fetched and has no evidence to it. So this is my own personal, this is another theory I came up with, literally just while watching the show last night. It's far-fetched, there's no evidence to support this, but this would be an interesting twist. If Grace and the husband, Mr. Alvarez, got together and hated their spouses for cheating and set everything up. But I'm like, that would mean that he killed his wife and then blamed Jonathan and all this stuff and all this muck and mire. Like, that's too much, but that's just something that I just came up with. Let's talk about Henry. Henry, I simply think that Henry is too young. If they try to make Henry the killer at this point, I just don't know how I will feel because, you know, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me because he's just too young. He's just a little bit too young. Even if he was like 13 or 14, I think that I could stretch my imagination and think that he could do it. But he's just too young. Remember, his character is supposed to be in either fourth or fifth grade, like fourth grade. That's elementary school. And he's also so immature and all over the place and emotional. I think that he was just hiding the hammer. Now, I read this article, I forget where I read it, but she said in the article, she thinks that the hammer was planted by Jonathan. I don't know if I think the hammer was planted. I think that he's definitely hiding it for his father, and I think he knew it was in there. He had to know it was in there because he like makes eye contact with Grace before he even like sees what she's seeing, so he knows it's in there. So I think he's hiding it for his father, but I don't think that he killed her. He's just slightly too young. It's just not believable for me. Like, and if they make that the twist, it won't be believable to me. And how do you let a 10-year-old overpower you and hit you with a hammer? Like, a 10-year-old could swing a hammer and break your arm, but like hitting you up to your head, girl, like, I work in elementary schools and I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way. So those are all of the theories. Those are my reactions to all of your wonderful, wonderful theories. Who do you think did it at this point? The last chance for moments, last chance to speculate. Comment below, who do you think?